Fundamentally, this fiber network is city infrastructure. It's important infrastructure. That infrastructure is only going to grow, and it's only going to become more valuable, and it's going to last for decades.
Welcome to another episode of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. I'm Christopher Mitchell at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance in St. Paul, Minnesota. Just back after a whole bunch of travel, but excited to be talking about the city of Hillsboro and the fiber network there owned by the municipality, HiLight. So we're going to have two guests today, and I'll explain in a little bit why I'm so excited, because this is a network I've long been interested in. But we have Brad Nosler, the general manager of HiLight. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. Good to be here.
And we also have Elizabeth Pereira, the senior customer support. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
So I feel like, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I remember when the city of Hillsboro had a feasibility study that said, oh, this is not going to work. And I looked at that and I didn't think it really provided a whole lot of insight. And I was hoping that the city would move forward with a little bit of a plan that was perhaps that would be suitable for the city. And lo and behold, not only have you done it, now you've been doing it for several years. So I've been waiting in the wings to bring you on until we could talk about how it's going, and I'm excited to find out. Let's just start from the beginning with you, Brad. And if you just want to give us a sense of, not necessarily like that way back to the feasibility study, but generally why the city is pursuing this. And also for people who don't live in Northwest Oregon, where Hillsboro is.
Yeah, well, Hillsboro is just west of Portland, about 10 miles or so. And it's the fifth largest city in Oregon, growing, and could surpass Gresham, Oregon soon to become the fourth, but we're still the fifth largest city of Oregon. It's a very kind of high-tech community. Actually, the community has a bit of on both ends. We've got some of the lowest income census tracts in the state, but we also have some of the highest, and companies like Intel has some very large campuses here in Hillsboro, as well as other high-tech firms, Genentech, Nike's here, Salesforce has a big office. So that's kind of the flavor of the city. We have our own airport, so we've got flights coming in and out. But I will go back a little bit to the feasibility study and my guess what you'd call maybe the beginnings. And full disclosure, both Elizabeth and I were at Comcast at that time locally, and I was particularly paying attention to what the city of Hillsboro was doing. And frankly, I thought they made a wise decision when they decided to pass after that first feasibility study. As the story or history goes, it got revisited a few years later in the context of a very large housing development going in called, in the southern part of town, creatively named South Hillsboro. And which is going to be about, when complete, about 8,000 homes, about 20,000 addition to the population of the city. And with all that construction work and trenches open, it was decided that was a good time to move forward with the project, because the construction there could be done at far less cost with, the trenches open, as opposed to boring and drilling and doing the more expensive construction work. So that's when the city council revisited about 2018. They approved it.
I feel like some of us oversimplify and feel like we could do it in an easy way then, right? Like when the ground's open, the houses aren't yet built. It seems like we think of it as, again, oversimplify and say easy. And I'm sure we can talk more about how there's still a lot of challenges to be overcome.
There definitely are. And it might be easier in some respects, but there's still challenges, and there's still costs involved, and there's still, trying to find the contractors who'll do the work. And those are all challenges, whether the trenches are open or not. And we've experienced all those along the way. But we did move forward, and we didn't start, we started working with the developers. They started putting in conduit and for us, through which fiber was later pulled. But we really started most of our construction in some of the lower income areas of the city, which is kind of contrary to the way most fiber networks would get built, particularly in the private sector, they go to where they can start generating some cash flow and reinvest that to further the construction. There was a deliberate intent to start in the lower income portions of the city, and that was done with the city's mission to increase connections within the city.
Right. We saw that in some other places too, and I feel like it's always worth, again, sort of that being totally upfront. There's pros and cons. It'll often increase the amount you have to borrow because you don't have the same cash flow coming in earlier phases of the project, and so it puts your window out of when you're going to break even and that sort of a thing. So there's, it's one of those things that I feel like sometimes decisions like that are made, and some people understand why, and it's not communicated to everyone, and that can be a challenge.
Yeah. And there's going to be some financing challenges as we move forward too, as we try to expand throughout the full city. Over the last 3 years, we've been constructing, and phase by phase, cabinet by cabinet, and rolling activations along the way and launching in each of those areas. We're about 11%. We've built about 11% of the city so far, but there's a long way to go.
I have to say, I mean, it's interesting to me, that both you and Elizabeth are from Comcast. The community that I most associate as being similar with you is Longmont, north of Denver, which is also quite a high tech community, but also has that some of that mixed environment with lower income census areas. And so let's just pause for a second on the story, and I'm curious why you both decided to move over to the city.
I actually had left Comcast, so I didn't leave Comcast to come work at the city. I was no longer working at Comcast. And then, I heard about this job, and it was just interesting because it's something that, I feel like it's really good for the city and to help the community. And so I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I've been in customer care for as long as my whole career, basically. So I manage one of the cable stores for Comcast. So, it just was a good fit for me, I feel.
Excellent. And Elizabeth is from Hillsboro. She lives in the community.
Oh, that's always good. Yeah.
Yeah. And similarly, I had already left Comcast. So it wasn't, as Elizabeth said, a direct jump. I had some time in between and then landed here.
And I think, is your telephone provider Frontier?
It was Frontier. Frontier sold a lot of their Northwest properties to a company called Ziply Fiber. Right. Which is run by some former folks formerly of Wave Broadband. The main incumbent service providers are Comcast as well as Ziply Fiber. Both offer 1 gig service. So we're not breaking new ground with regard to that. There's not been an issue of availability. Now, in terms of, you could make an argument, there's been that we offer a different affordability consideration, as well as our technology obviously is new. Ziply has all fiber, Comcast doesn't. They have hybrid fiber to the node design. But we're 100% fiber broadband and we're offering some speeds beyond 1 gig. And most people just find 1 gig completely satisfactory, but competitively with Ziply and Comcast, we do pretty well in terms of quality of service as well as portability.
And just to close the loop, the other difference with Longmont is that several of the people running Longmont are from CenturyLink's team previously. So certainly, there's not a huge world of people in telecommunications. So I think a lot of them come from those companies. Yeah,
I think it is wise for small fiber operations that are just starting up to really kind of look for people within in private industry experience. It certainly served us well. Besides Elizabeth and I, we have a small team. All of us but one came from Comcast. It helped us in devising our coming up with our policies and practices and daily operations. So that, I think that background has served us very well.
And so, if I understood, then you've been building for 3 years. You've got 11% a passing of 11% of the city.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so how many, I'm presuming that those are where people can take service. And so I'm curious, what are some of the results? How are people responding to the service that's available? And this is where I always love to hear like some of the stories of just like, that probably Elizabeth is collecting.
Yeah, and I'll let Elizabeth touch on some of those stories as well as kind of the customer satisfaction piece. And I'll just say that from a growth standpoint, we're not growing as rapidly as we had hoped. We're about 10%, about 12% residential, about 9% in commercial in terms of market share. That's going to grow in areas where we've been for over a year because we're constantly rolling, so adding more homes to the denominator of that equation. But in areas that we've been for more than a year, we're about 15%. In our very first phase, we're about 18%. And so, yeah, we hope to get about 15 and then possibly extend that over time to 20%.
Well, we'll jump into that in a second, but I would guess you're not doing a full-on marketing blitz yet because you would just be angering 80% of the town that can't get it.
We're not marketing. It's very targeted. Yeah, right. We're marketing, but it's very targeted. We're growing. We're operationally, we're busy. Our team has a full workload each day. And I'll just, beyond that standpoint, it is really how are those customers that do take our service evaluating their experience in the service. And I'll just let Elizabeth kind of touch on that.
So I think customers are really happy. They're excited that it's the city providing the service. I feel like a lot of the customers have experienced maybe not so great interactions with other companies. And so I think they're looking for something that's more personable, that they don't have to jump through hoops to talk to someone. It's someone local that they're talking to. So I think they're really liking that piece of it. And obviously, the speed, the fact that we're symmetrical and it's the 1 gig and above, right? I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome speed. The product is great. I mean, the customers are loving it. We do get, a lot of customers or, residents, I should say, that will call and they're looking forward to getting the service and they might be in an area that is not serviceable yet. So we do get a lot of those calls as well, where people are looking forward to getting our service.
We don't have a big team and the people we are serving are right here in the community. And so I know they know Elizabeth's name and our other customer service support persons. They know them by name. It shows up in the comments of our surveys that it's great to be talking to local people and not having to go through an elaborate phone tree to, some automated system that they can talk directly to us. And they have confidence in that. With those surveys, we also have been doing our best to assess a net promoter score so that we have a benchmark and can see how we're doing. And our net promoter score, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it measures, negative 100 to positive.
Better to be
100.
Positive than negative.
Yeah, but the maximum is positive 100. The minimum is negative 100. They're all right around 88 to 90.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah, it's been overwhelming. And, certainly we count on word of mouth from neighbor to neighbor to vouch for us when they get us. And I think a lot of that is happening.
Yeah. And one of the things that in my experience, when you're doing that rollout, you do more like door to door in those neighborhoods, but it's probably harder to do since most of your work has been during the pandemic. So,
and during the pandemic, the roughest part of that, frankly, was our technicians who have to actually go into customers' homes. And we had a whole protocol and we, had people sign a release to let us come in and that kind of thing. But in terms of promoting the service, we do go door to door, not knocking, but we do door hanging and to let people know the service is coming soon to a particular area. And then when it's available, we post that too, that it's now available. We follow that up with mailers. And so that's some of the targeted marketing, I guess you'd say, to get the word out. We can't really do large scale mass advertising. We've also participated in the summers in local community events. Mm-hmm. There's a Tuesday night market, for example, that we've done several times, and that's a good opportunity to talk to people, whether they are in serviceable areas or are looking forward to it, as Elizabeth mentioned.
Well, there's a couple of things that I've observed, and one of them is that the building phase you're in is usually just incredibly challenging. And there's things that go wrong every day. There's so much to do. You haven't generated enough cash flow to have the full complement of staff that you will ultimately have to handle the workload. So it's definitely that environment, I'm sure, of people have, like you said, your days are full.
From a construction standpoint, yes, the city has a particular, we as a government agency, we have certain purchasing and procurement policies we need to follow, and trying to get more than a few competitive bids for construction has been a challenge with contractors. I know the contractors have been challenged with finding staff. Supply chain issues that started in the pandemic and have continued have really made ordering materials a challenge. The wait times on things like vaults or cabinets or splice closures or fiber itself, it's 6, 9, 12 months out, and that can be a real challenge when you want to finish an area and you're missing some component. Between the labor and the materials, costs have not gone down.
Right.
They've only gone up in some cases considerably, and that has also challenged. That's been a big change since those early days when that feasibility study first went out and the city first started considering doing this.
And the part that I feel like people might not notice, but I would guess Elizabeth is probably more aware of it, is that there's a bunch of things that I'm guessing Ziply and Comcast have done in response to you coming in the market that are giving people better deals than they might have if they were living over in Portland or in one of the other suburbs with a little less competition. I'm more aware of this right now because I've hit my cap for the past 3 months for internet access, and I'm guessing that your rivals don't have caps if they in that market. So there's all kinds of things that are probably your entry into the market has resulted in some benefits for residents in the area.
It's interesting. I actually over the phone, we don't hear a lot about like the caps, right? We do hear some, but not very often. Most of the time what the customers are touching on is the price. Is we do have some of the competitors that their prices have gone down and they're similar to what we're offering. So that's about the only thing that I feel like I have noticed, at least while talking to customers, is the price point. Now, the speed might be different. That's the only thing, right? So they're not saving a whole bunch. And if it's somebody that might not be using the full 1 gig, they don't care to get the 1 gig, then 200 meg is perfectly fine with them. And they don't care to stay at the $55 price.
$55 for the 1 gig is our price. That's our price. We don't have promotions. We don't have a special offer. We don't have, that's our price. Whereas those competitors live off promotions that expire.
So I mean, I was just clicking over to look at your the residential rates that you have, and so $55 a month for 1 gig. And how many secret fees do you tack onto that?
None.
That's remarkable, but people don't always appreciate that.
No, we try to keep it affordable and simple is the way we approached our pricing. And the only thing where there's any kind of add-ons is that we do offer voice services, and of course that comes with a lot of state and federal taxes, which those are add-ons. But that's only for the voice service. For the internet, no promotions, no extra fees.
Yeah, and that's always a question, is how much is it for the equipment rental? It's included. It's part of it.
Yeah, we do offer an optional Wi-Fi management service that includes a router. But it's an actual service, and it's $5 more. So if you wanted Wi-Fi from us, the total goes to $60. But more than half of our customers use our own routers.
I'm sure, Elizabeth, you've looked at other areas in the region, but we every now and then do a little survey of our data, just that we don't have enough time to go and collect tons of it. But in my experience, $70 a month is still pretty common for a gigabit or above from most providers. And so, coming in at $55 a month for a gigabit as your initial offer, to me, it's really quite remarkable. I can only name probably less than 10 ISPs in the entire nation that are offering such an aggressive price. So, and I know that as someone who receives Comcast marketing materials, and I can imagine Ziply, I can imagine that if you look at a brochure, it might look better. But I mean, at this point, the modem rental fees are like in the double digits for most of these companies. The just the extra fees and things like that, they really add up to the point at which my frequent collaborator on a video show we do called Connect This, a little silly show we do, Doug Dawson, he surveys these prices and he does feasibility studies. And he keeps talking about how we are right at the doorstep. And in some communities, we've crossed the threshold where the baseline service is $100 a month when you add up all of those fees and things like that.
Yeah, our customers really like that there is, the fees are already included, that there's no extra tax and franchise and all that stuff. So it's really nice. I mean, I always obviously have to tell them about the phone, like Brad mentioned, but for the most part, I mean, most of our customers are internet only customers, right? So they love that it's like, if you are just getting our 1 gig, your monthly is literally $55. So they love it.
What are some of the other benefits to the community? In particular, I'm curious about the one of the benefits that struck us right away was the low income, which again, I feel like, I think you mentioned, I sense from you a little bit of a sense of, I wish we were doing better financially, but most of the places we've seen have waited years to introduce a low income plan. You not only launched in a low income neighborhood, you also provided a very aggressive low income service as well. So tell us about that.
Our bridge program, it's going slower than we'd like. I mean, we wish we were getting a lot more, bridge customers signing up. I feel like recently, now that we've launched a new area, it has picked up a little bit, which is nice. But yeah, the customers that, call in and they're asking about the bridge service, I mean, they love it because with a lot of our, some of our competitors, right, they also have a low income product that they offer, but it's the speed. It's like not even comparable to what we're offering. I mean, 1 gig, for $10 a month is amazing. They also get the Wi-Fi management, with that included, and they get free installation. So it's an awesome product for those customers that might be, struggling financially. They can look for jobs, kids can do schoolwork, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's a great product that we're offering.
Yeah, it is remarkable. And I'm sure that those signups, we see that everywhere, where it just takes a while to build that trust and for people to appreciate that sometimes people have gotten suckered into things that look like that good of a deal, but didn't turn out to be. So they become wary over time.
We've partnered to execute the program so that we're getting people qualified, that we have criteria for participating in it. It's not just anybody can get it. But we've worked with 3 community partners that serve as verification partners, that the people go there, get their qualifications verified, and then it's pretty easy on our end. The partners just send the email over to our customer support team, and we call them back and get them signed up and connected. But the partners have been very valuable in this process.
Have you sought to get reimbursed then under the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program?
Not yet. That's something we're discussing. When the first version of the ACP, I forget what it was called, the
EBB.
There you go. And now it's ACP came out. We said, you looked at it and said, okay, it's, first of all, then it was temporary. Didn't know if it was going to last. Now it's a little more permanent, but we just said, look, $10 for 1 gig, that's pretty darn good. I don't know how much better. All we could do is give them a $10 credit and make it free. We're certainly aware of the ACP, but we came out before that. We have a very good service and haven't really felt the need to start overcomplicating it yet. Now, I know Comcast with their Internet Essentials, they offer, I think it's 50 meg for $9.99, and then they will tack on top of that the ACP credit, and I think net it down to $0 for the customer, and that's something we could look at too. But there's, again, as Elizabeth pointed out, they're only at 50 meg. The value of a 1 gig connection, I think it kind of justifies easily justifies $10.
Well, that and there's 2 things. One is I feel like there's a number of people for whom they don't want to get something for nothing. They want to be a part of it. And then on top of it, you would have to have a fair number of customers to actually make it worth it for you to do the paperwork of getting that reimbursement.
You are spot on. And that's been another one of my apprehensions about it, is just jumping into it with the administrative rules attached to it. when we're already delivering something that's really string-free. I'm not anxious to necessarily adopt the ACP in conjunction with the bridge service that we're already delivering.
So one of the last things I'd like to ask you is just sort of, I'm not going through this myself. In fact, a friend of mine keeps trying to get me into the ISP game, and I'm not, because I know how hard the work is. So knowing that you're both dealing with that right now and the stresses of rolling out a system and expanding its footprint and everything else, when you look at everything that you're doing, what makes it worth it to stay and keep doing this as opposed to finding a job that might be less stressful?
I've never had a job that's less stressful.
Me too. Yeah, I really actually like working for the community. I mean, obviously I worked for Comcast before, and I would say that was stressful. But I am not stressed. I mean, I really enjoy being able to help the community, and just to hear some of those people that are signing up for, like, the price point, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you for doing this for the community. We do get that. So that, makes me feel good. So I enjoy working for the city.
And I don't live here in Hillsboro, but I've gotten to know the community a little bit. What makes it fun for me is the fact that we 2 or 3 years ago kind of got our first small group of team members together and got in a lot of conference rooms before construction ever really got rolling, and got to figure it out and got to apply what we'd taken from other jobs and other positions with other companies and build something from scratch, which not often do you get that opportunity to build something from scratch. And I think the fact that we've not only built something from the beginning, that we've all had a hand in doing, but that it's working and that we're actually delivering services to people that they like, starting with from nothing, I think there's a lot of satisfaction in that. But the other part of this, besides serving residents and businesses, is fundamentally this fiber network is city infrastructure. It's important infrastructure. We don't only serve those residents and businesses, but it connects city buildings. We've got city parks connected for irrigation systems. We're connected with other local agencies like Clean Water Services and the local E911 center, and there's a large community center and a big convention center that's over by the airport. And so that infrastructure is only going to grow, and it's only going to become more valuable, and it's going to last for decades. Technology does change, but fiber optics is pretty has a long life to it. So it's nice that we're providing a service as an ISP, but it's also important, I think, for the community that we're also putting infrastructure in the ground that's going to have other applications that we can't even imagine down the road.
Yes, I think that's so true. And that's what I get really excited about when communities are taking that step, because I do feel like we don't know what's coming next. But one of the things that I feel like we know is that many communities are at the mercy of the existing providers, and those providers, I'm not someone who talks about how terrible they are, because I think in many cases they're doing a good job. But the simple fact is they look at the world in a different way than the city does. And as the city builds this out and it's paid for by people that subscribe to it, you have all these interesting things you can do in the future as new technology comes available, as you want to offer free service, in different areas of town, parks and things like that. It gets pretty exciting, I think.
You're right. And I think one of those learnings at least I have, I won't speak for Elizabeth or the other team members, is really trying to recognize, understand, and appreciate the different way that the city thinks with regard to this investment, to way that, I had 34 years in the private sector, and I many a budget meeting and understood what the values were and what the important things were. And in some cases, there's some similarities. In other cases, they come from very different places.
Right.
So.
Any last words, Elizabeth?
Just glad that we were able to come here and talk about, what the city of Hillsboro is doing for the community.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm excited, and I hope that others are taking notice. I don't know if you ever get together for drinks with the folks from Sandy, but there's great folks over there, and I feel like these networks attract really interesting people. So I really appreciate your time.
But we have met with them a few times.
Yeah, excellent.
And also the neighboring community of Sherwood is also building out a fiber network.
Oh, good. I know they got started a long time ago, and then they were using it, but they weren't expanding it, but now they're expanding it again.
Yeah, their original build was kind of more institutional and business. Mm-hmm. Now they're expanding it for residential as well.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Excellent. Well, I know there's a lot of other folks in Multnomah County that are hoping to see some expansion, and there's a whole political issue around that as they're working through those issues. So.
They did a feasibility study too, and yep. I again backed down, and frankly, like we started with talking at the beginning here, I don't blame them, and I kind of applaud them for making what seems like a wise decision.
Yeah, I mean, let me just put it out there. I mean, in my mind, what I think you ended up doing is what I had recommended, and maybe I'm just putting on rosy glasses here, but like, I feel like a lot of these feasibility studies are like, well, how do we build out to everyone? And I think that's the wrong question. I think the question is like, if we want to make a difference, where should we target some reasonable amount of money, not borrowing $1 billion, but where do we target some reasonable starting place?
Yeah, perhaps. I think though, when you talk about building a community, whether you talk about doing it immediately or over whatever period of time, you still are talking about eventually serving everybody in the community, making it a service available. So you really can't do the Google model of building out fiber hoods. You've got to really plan to, if you're a public entity, serve the whole community. But my issue with a lot of these feasibility studies is they write their questions in a way to get the answer that they want to have, which is, yes, we should do this. And I like you would, if we could offer you a service for less money and faster, you would take it, wouldn't you? Yeah, who wouldn't, say that? But it's like I have over a couple decades of paying attention to these things. I have some skepticism on that whole process.
No, I agree with that. And I think one has to be very careful in any poll to understand which questions are being asked and how people are answering them.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Well, I really appreciate both of your time, and I look forward to seeing how this rolls out.
We look forward to continuing to roll it out, and we appreciate the opportunity to share the story so far, with more story to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have transcripts for this and other podcasts available at muninetworks.org/broadbandbits. Email us at podcast@muninetworks.org with your ideas for the show. Follow Chris on Twitter. His handle is @CommunityNets. Follow muninetworks.org stories on Twitter. The handle's @muninetworks. Subscribe to this and other podcasts from ILSR, including Building Local Power, Local Energy Rules, and the Composting for Community podcast. You can access them anywhere you get your podcasts. You can catch the latest important research from all of our initiatives if you subscribe to our monthly newsletter at ilsr.org. While you're there, please take a moment to donate. Your support in any amount keeps us going. Thank you to Arnie Huseby for the song Warm Duck Shuffle, licensed through Creative Commons. This was the Community Broadband Bits podcast. Thanks for listening.